All right, so with that, we will turn it over to the applicant team to share their presentation. All right, we can see the visual, but we don't have any audio at this moment. Chris or Tom, are you guys able to unmute? Wait, I can see if I can try to unmute from my end. One second.
All right, can you hear us now?
Yes, loud and clear. We got you now.
Thank you. So, man, we're over here dying. I apologize immensely.
No worries. It happens to all of us. We're glad
Oh,
we
God,
could
we're sitting here hitting buttons and everything looks like it's good, but finally. Anyways, I'm Tom Chunchik and I'm with Paramount Construction. I also represent the developer RE Development LLC. Wanted to thank the organizations for allowing us to make this presentation this evening. We believe strongly in the input from the neighborhood, and we want to be good neighbors. And we think that the dam meeting is a strong proponent. Component in that process. So that being said, I could later on if somebody has any questions about RE development or about who we are, I can address those. But I thought I'd turn this over to Chris and he can start the actual presentation. Okay.
All right, can you see the we're sharing the one screen from
yes. Yes,
okay,
we can see the screen. It sometimes flashes to black, but I think for the most part it's good.
okay. So yeah, this project we're doing, it's on 3339 Ward Street, South Oakland. And what we are proposing to do is take a 2-story office to a 4-story residential units.
As you can see, even from the initial picture there, the photo rendering, we try to do something that really fits in with the neighborhood with a mansard type of roof. The bottom part of the building will be the current ephes. It'll all be redone. And then we'll be adding some masonry board up on that third story. And then the metal roofing, which will be the fourth story. So it'll be a combination of ephes and masonry board and metal roofing on the mansard roof. Okay, Chris, you can go on.
All right, so next is 3339 Ward Street. There is a parking lot. It's located about a block or so away on Juliet Street. And that's what's shown in this bird's eye view. And we have almost, combined with the integral parking in the parking lot, almost 40 parking spots.
Yeah, there is a basement that will have, I don't know, what is it, 7 or 8 parking spaces, including some handicap spaces that people can pull into and unload. And then the parking lot is 500 and some feet. And there's, 30 spaces over there.
All right, so here's the existing conditions, where it shows this 2-story building. It pretty much takes up the whole entire lot. We have Boulevard of the Allies to the right, Ward Street to the south, and Thora Way to the west. Here's the parking lot on Joliet Street. Joliet Street. It's an existing parking lot. It does have an arm, so only the people who rent out the units can park there. Here's what the existing site condition look like. And then here's our site plan. So we're not really doing much to the shown on the plot plan. The building's going to stay the same footprint. Again, we're just adding 2 stories to it. We're adding some street trees. And then we're putting a new sewer line in. Here's the proposed basement floor plan. We're showing 2 handicap parkings on the basement floor level and a few normal parking. There's some bike parking down there and laundry for the tenants of the building. Here's the first and second floor. On the first floor is going to be 4 units with a gym, a fitness center, and a
Community room.
Yeah, a room. And then the third and fourth floor just has a second. It's just units. And leaning back to here's the final, what it's going to look, and Tom already described. Yeah, the rendering. And that's it. It's not much.
All right, anything else from your presentation, or should we now open it up to questions and comments?
I think just a general statement, I think it is something that fits in nice with the neighborhood, but we would like your comments about that. I know one of the issues when we first talked back 2 years ago before we purchased the property was the street parking, and what could we do to help alleviate and mitigate any strain that would be put on to the existing. And we really think that with the qualifying parking lot according to city zoning, we're 500, I think we're a little over 500 feet away, that we're providing about 40 parking spaces where our tenants will park. And I think that's it, Christian. You could open it up.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We will now open it up to any questions or comments. Feel free to use the Q&A function to type out or raise your hand and we can allow you to speak your question. So I'll open it up. All right, so we do have a question typed in the Q&A. Question about what is the construction schedule?
In the way it is now, hopefully within the next 60 days or so, let's say 60 to 90 days tops, we hope to be going to ZBA. And I would think if everything, after we go through that process, we would be looking at something in the late summer into the fall of getting construction started. We did obtain a demo permit, I would say about 5, 6, 7 months ago. So the interior of the building of the existing 2 floors is totally gutted. I mean, there are floors and there are supports in there, but as far as everything that was in there, we had that interior demoed. The main reason that we asked for the demo permit at that time was to ascertain, the engineering of the building, what was there, what needed to be safely put in, even to take care of the existing 2 stories. And then the new construction part would be the engineering for the additional 2 stories. So at this point in time, that is already completed. And so once we get through the process, I look for something to get started, hopefully in there by the fall.
Great, thank you. And just a quick follow-up, you mentioned the ZBA. You just want to quickly touch on what variances you may be requesting at the ZBA?
I know that we have the parking lot, the existing parking lot. The current C of O, the parking lot was set up there years ago. There was a drugstore in this. After it was a church, it became a drugstore. I don't know what happened in the interim, but it eventually became a drugstore. And the parking lot was initially set up as a place to park for the employees and some clients and customers. So that C of O has to be changed over. We're fine with all the dimensions, with the height. Currently, the zoning calls for 60 foot, and we'll be in I believe it's the lower 50s on the total. And everything else, like I said, there's a couple little minor things, but nothing that is of a major concern. We do have to get the parking lot changed over to accept the additional spaces and the restriction of the drugstore people parking there.
Great, thank you. So we'll move on to a few other questions that have come on in. What percentage of tenant parking will be reserved for ADA parking?
We have 2 spaces down in the basement, okay, and that are designated ADA, and we will have other spaces over at the parking lot, but in those particular cases, people would drop off at the building, then use the elevator to get in to their apartments, and have someone, if needed, be there. There are handicap spaces over at the parking lot also. But inside the basement, there are 2 designated.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move on. Another question. How will you deal with the dumping that is happening over at the Juliet lot?
The dumping?
Whoever wrote the comment is free to elaborate, but I do believe they're alluding to dumping that may be going on there, but if you'd like to
There's no,
address that.
there's no dumping now. We paved that thing, right after we bought it, about a year and a half ago. If you drive back there now, there's no dumping back there. I don't go back there all the time, but about once a month I go back there. And since we've owned it, you know, there's cars that park there. We put up a gate, and the first week someone decided they wanted to take the gate. But since that time, we just decided to let people park over there. So they have been parking there. There's usually 5 or 10 cars parking there. But I've never seen any dumping since we've owned it there. And my guys around Ward Street, you know, they have to pick up stuff. We probably had to paint Ward Street probably 25 to 30 times. It's been tagged. But we've never had anything over, if you go over there now, I would venture to say there's not one thing. I mean, I've been over there and there's a broken bottle, there's a little bit of glass, but I've never seen any dumping over there. One of the people that own, actually, if you're going in to the parking lot on the left-hand side, him and I have been in contact since we've owned it. And, you know, he's under the instructions, or, well, us asking him that if he ever sees or hears anything to contact me. And I'm happy to say in the 2 years, we've only talked once or twice, and it wasn't about anything about dumping. It was just to clean up some landscaping and some other things like that. But I've had my guys go over there along the fences and a couple little planting areas, and you know, they've trimmed up all the weeds and things like that. So I think all in all, it's been since we've taken it over.
Okay.
I haven't seen one item.
Okay, thank you for that response. I think they may have followed up and said it may have been recent, so. Another question that came in as well, it says, will the tenants qualify for a parking permit?
You know, I don't know what we could do to that end. I know we talked a couple of years ago about putting some type of restriction in the lease, and we aren't opposed to that. You know, now whether people go along with that or not, I don't know what we could do with the city parking authority. But our ideas are, we have a parking lot, and it is our intent to do everything that we can legally to try to get people to utilize the parking lot.
I see. And I guess out of curiosity, a follow-up, would they be charged a fee for that parking, the tenants?
We haven't discussed that yet. I can say historically, we own 5 other properties in the Oakland area, and 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, 3 of them have definite parking. One of them has sort of some parking, and we've never charged on any of those properties. And we've owned properties in the Oakland area since 2005.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and you know, in terms of, you know, street, the city's parking permit system is, you know, kind of in parallel, and, you know, doesn't disqualify anyone from applying, you know, at least to my knowledge. So but no, thank you for that response. Any other questions out there? Well, looks like we have another one in the chat from Mavis Rainey with OTMA. Would you offer transportation alternatives like cash out program, where instead of paying for a parking space, tenants would be provided a bus pass?
I mean, we're willing, that's why we're here, you know, to get suggestions and stuff. We're willing to explore any ideas, you know, that the neighborhoods people have. So that's something we will write down here and get back to you on. I mean, if it's okay with you, Christian, if I give my email address also, I don't know if you want questions to flow through you and then to me, but if people want to email me any other questions or anything, I guess it's better if it comes through you. That way you can get the answers out to everybody.
Sure.
But if somebody wanted to contact me, it's Tom C at pcspgh.com. TOMC is in CAD at PCS as in Paramount Contract Services and PGH as in Pittsburgh.com.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I'm happy to field those and pass them along. And
And if
I
I
think
do
another-
get anything, if I also get anything, I would share them with you and Andrea
okay, great.
and Molly.
And from my end, from DCP's end, we can look in to see if there are any restrictions on the city street parking permit. To kind of channel
Great.
tenants to use the lot. So
The lot.
that's something we can think through.
I mean, that's the main reason why, not the main, but a real big component of why we purchased the property. Because we did not want to infringe, we know parking is tight over there, and we didn't want to infringe upon the existing people that live there, and we thought this would be attractive part that it had the parking lot.
Understood. Another thought that comes to mind is if we could go back to the rendering you had, if you could talk a little bit about the considerations of the sidewalks in and around the building and any improvements that you may anticipate with the development.
We're rather restricted, you know, since the building does take the, you know, pretty much the entire property. There is a pull off space where a car can get up into a little bit of a driveway before they enter into the basement. But our idea is there's a little planting area there. We were going to enhance that. We were looking at 3 trees over on Ward Street and 2 or 3 trees up. I'm sorry, 3 trees on the Boulevard of the Allies. And there's 2 or 3 trees up on
We're looking at 2 street trees on Ward Street.
3.
And yeah, you stay 40 feet away from the intersection, so it's kind of a tight fit. So we put 2 side by side to try to stay out of that 40 feet. And then we do have a street tree right on the Boulevard of the Allies. And we have 2 that are in the sidewalk and 2 back off the sidewalk to help have a greener look to the neighborhood.
Our garbage will be in the back on our property by the alleyway, which is the west. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you said the west side.
So if you look at that diagram, at the drawing that's there now, it's the upper left-hand corner there, right where it says site plan, right in that area there. Those steps are being removed that are on there. And then those HVAC units that are sitting there now are all going to be removed. And so our garbage will be taken out back there. All the refuse will be taken out back there. And then carted off into the trucks, on the appropriate day.
Great, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. All right, looks like Andrea has her hand up. Feel free to jump on in.
Hi, yes, I would just love to know a little bit about what is going to happen on the top of the roof. Tom, do you have plans either for, a green roof, a white roof, solar panels? Like what kinds of things are happening up there?
At this point, we didn't have anything, well, we've kicked around some ideas and, we're open to some of those things also. We are inside the height restriction of the building, so, I can talk to people and get back to you on that, and also. Are you in favor of us doing some of those things?
Oh, most definitely. Whatever it is that is possible for you to do is a good thing. Right in that little section there, right? It's a bit of a heat island. It's an enormous quantity of concrete, and trees tend to suffer along the boulevard. Not a whole lot of space underground, and a lot of fast-moving water on that slope. So there isn't a lot of good stormwater capture on site. We're proposing right now is going to be a flat roof that's replacing an existing steep pitch. It just seems like a great opportunity to be able to do some water capture and or some green roof investment. But obviously it has to make sense within the context of your development. Totally understandable.
Thank you. I appreciate these suggestions, and we will take it into consideration and definitely get back to you. I know in the past when we've even put something like these little quasi balconies, that neighbors have been concerned that people will be out there, playing noise and making noise and stuff and disturbing the neighborhood. I don't think here, with it being right along the street where that would be a major issue, you're not in like a real quiet part of the neighborhood. So maybe we could do something up on the roof, that would have some benefit and not bother any of the surrounding neighbors. We do have commercial properties to the left and commercial properties to the right. And then we have the alleyway in the back. So we're not really abutting right up against anybody. So we might be able to do something that wouldn't bother any of the neighbors.
So you're talking about programming on the roof, like something like a space where people can hang out, or are you talking about something else?
That's what I was thinking that you were talking about making it green and then doing something, allowing people out there, unless I misunderstood your.
Oh, no, mostly I was thinking about something that is like literally green and that like it's supporting plants, it's capturing rainwater on site and using it to, support a living roof that is then, also diminishing the energy load for your building and diminishing the heat island impact that the building would otherwise have, right? It absorbs a lot of heat sitting under the sun. There's no shade of any kind. The building's always going to be taking direct sunlight if there is any to be had. And what I was saying before about stormwater capture, right? The whole around there, the whole area around there is very heavily paved. There's not a lot of permeable surface, and it's on a slope. And
Yeah.
the tendency is for rainwater to flow very fast down the boulevard. And I was saying before that street trees don't really have a whole lot of fighting chance along there, precisely because there's no water penetration into the ground that can support them, right? And so, the trees that are planted along the boulevard tend to suffer somewhat. So if there is some way where on site you can in fact actually support green growing things with the water that is falling on the building, then it seems like it would be a net benefit both for your project as well as for the neighborhood.
Thank you very much. We will look into that in more detail, definitely.
All right, any other questions out there? All righty, I do not see any more questions, so with that, I want to thank our applicant team for their presentation. I also want to thank everyone for their attendance and our two RCOs as well. If there's no other final comments? Just like to say thanks one more time and hope you all have a wonderful evening.
I'd like to say thank you one more time also, for everyone taking an evening out of their time, their personal time to listen to us make the presentation. And I think there was some valid input that we received, and we will give strong consideration to. Thank you, and for allowing us to be part of your process.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, and take care.